Welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I am joined with Lisa and Elyse, and we are some of the mediums and channelers at Avalon Spirit. And every Friday we get together and we chat about all things spirit. And so today, what we thought is we have all been noticing that the energies around us are very dense. Even in some of the kind of 4D energy, if you try to tune in, there's some density there. As well as dream state, there's some warpy density. And then there's a lot of chaos happening in 3D, in the news, in the media, all around. All to say the energy is really dense. Now, one of the best things to do when there is density is to pull yourself above it. It doesn't mean you're ignorant to it, but what it means is you're choosing your frequency. And that is something that our guides keep repeating to us over and over and over, is choose your frequency. And so we're going to do that. We're going to help you and help ourselves to raise our frequency and talk about things that are very uplifting. And today's topic is all about animal spirits.
Yeah.
Animal spirit guides, the connection we have with animals, and how they really enrich our lives, not even just in like the human way of companionship, but the spiritual energy behind them and all of that. So all to say, welcome everyone. Oh my goodness.
And just as you were talking, my cat was like, he very rarely comes out.
I
And he
know,
was
right?
like, yeah.
Oh, he's so cute. So sweet.
This is Chai.
Oh, Chai. So sweet. Oh
He's
my
not
goodness.
usually super sweet, but he's making an appearance today.
He's like, we can all be nice sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Like, I think my mom needs me right now. So I'm gonna,
Yeah, right?
yeah.
So to start this off, a lot of people, I'm sure you also get this question too, but a lot of people will ask like, can your pets be spirit guides, or can spirit guides come back as pets? We've kind of touched on this before, but what's your experience with that?
Hey, I need to tell a story about this because
Yeah.
this is significant. Okay. So this is emotional, okay, of course. So as a family, we're like huge pet people, but like really love cats. So after my family traveled and we got home in 2019, we realized that we needed a cat. We didn't have a cat at that point. And so we found this cat, Mr. White. He was amazing. And my daughter, my oldest, loved him. Like it was like they were like this. And she trained him and they were just best friends. And then COVID hit and she went through a lot through obviously everybody did, but her experience through COVID and then afterwards is like moving into high school and going through the whole like coming of age in a different way. And it was really kind of nasty. And then went through a lot. And this cat was with her, like her absolute bestie. And
Mm-hmm.
then we moved to Saskatoon. And I think it was only like 6 weeks after we moved into our house in Saskatoon. Mr. White wasn't feeling well. We're like, what the heck? Like, what's wrong? So I took him to the vet, and within 16 hours, he died. And it was so quick. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, we didn't have any, well, it was awful, but apparently it was such a freak thing. Lilies are toxic to cats or animals. And we didn't, like in Saskatchewan, like the tiger lily is a province's flower, and there's daylilies everywhere in everybody's yard. And the house that we got had lilies all over it in the front yard. And apparently, like the little bits that come from it at a certain time, especially, they're like extremely deadly. And we were outside having a picnic, and Mr. White does not eat plants, but he was laying on the grass, and there was enough of the remnants from the lilies at that time. And he cleaned himself and he died within like 16 hours. And so,
Mr. White.
all to say, I was like, how does that happen? You know, like the devastation. And I connected to Mr. White's energy afterwards, took a sec, and he explained to me that he was one of my daughter's spirit guides. And he incarnated into an animal for her to get through a certain time. Like they contracted it so that she could get through that time
Mm.
with like safely. And then when he knew his time and that she was good and she met friends and everything, he was like, peace out, because I'm not here to be a cat for 19 years. I
Yeah.
just want to help
Yeah.
her. And then he's like, so he's back as like a spirit guide for her and just came in cat form for that short time.
Hmm. That's beautiful.
Oh,
So beautiful and so sad. And he was the best cat. I even got to meet him and he really was. He was just this big, snuggly, fuzzy cat. And Sarah
yeah.
would just like flip him upside down and hold him. He was just like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. She'd just carry him
Yeah.
around as this
Yeah.
giant Balinese cat. Kind of
Yeah.
looked like Chai, but way less
Here.
temperamental.
Right.
And
That's
then
so interesting.
more, I don't want to hog all the time, but you know how in this past episodes you guys are like, well, what's the answer? And I'm like, more cats, right? More cats is always the answer of solving all the world's problems. But anyway, I had an experience where I was driving to this grocery store and I could hear the voice of like an animal come through, and it's a cat. And he said, you need to come get me. I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for you to come pick me up. So I was like, and it was at this like PetSmart or whatever that was right by Save On Foods. And I'm like, so I walk in the doors and they're like, hi, can we help you? I'm like, I'm here because I'm supposed to come see a cat. I didn't tell them
Oh,
it was
who
the
sent
cat
you?
that called
Yeah,
me.
right.
I think they assumed that somebody told me. And they're
Who's
like,
the
oh,
referral?
it must be that one. That one just came in from a rescue center. And I was like, yeah. So I go and I'm like, and it's like, yeah, that's the one. I open the cage, which I never do. And he just comes and sits on my shoulder. And I'm like, yeah, that's one. They're like, he was feral. Like, he was a feral cat found on the side of the road, blah, 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 blah. All to say, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll take you home. I'm here. I'm like, I gotta convince my husband, but like, don't worry, like, you're coming home kind of thing. And he's just been the best cat, like such an unusually like close cat. Shadow, he's my shadow, follows me everywhere. He's communicating with me. And then I concussed myself again on Sunday and I had an outer body experience, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, part of it is I was overlooking my body on my bed, laying there, and Shadow, my cat, was laying on my chest. And when I was outside of my body, I was communicating with Shadow. And I was like, he was like, I'm here to guide you on your journey. I'm here to stay with you. Thank you. Like, he was acknowledging that I had heard him, but this was the reason for
Mhm.
this stage in my life, because he is somewhat of a spirit guide for here that has come through in the frequency of the new vibration that I'm working in, the new timeline. And he's like, I am your earth guide in your new timeline.
Hmm.
And so it's like, you guys know all of a sudden, like the walk-in concept for humans, there's a walk-in concept for animals too. And Shadow
Mhm.
had the walk-in concept. So he could have
Mhm.
died. And then he like that guide came in Shadow and called me to come get him. And then now here he is. Isn't
Mhm.
that insane?
That's so neat.
You
I
guys are
mean,
the first privy to this information, by the way. I haven't even told my
Hmm.
family that. My family would think I'm crazy, but that's seriously, isn't that neat?
that's cool. That's really cool. It makes sense too. I mean, like I think, well, of course,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Of course. Yes. Yeah. That's interesting.
But
Um,
you guys communicate with your animals.
yeah. Elise, do you want to go? I can share mine after.
Yeah, I have a harder time communicating with my own animals because my brain is so wrapped up in them. Like, I don't have human babies, so they are my babies. And so like for me, I sometimes I have a really hard time like removing myself from it. And we've talked about that, right? Sometimes with mediumship, the people closest to you are the hardest ones to read because you have your brain preconceived notions about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had I look over there because they're both sleeping on the bed in the sun.
I know, I've got animals in here too today.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, but you guys had a super peaceful experience with my animals. They were just so lovely.
Your animals could feel our energy so
They were like, But so, okay. So I had Dexter, who was like my soul dog, and I've spoken about him on here before, and he's a guide now. He hangs out. I tell him all the time, I'm like, after these two crazies, you need to like incarnate again because I need some ease. Because he was just like the easiest dog. He was so chill. And he was like my little sidekick and he was my guardian, not in a like, he was never aggressive or anything like that. But anybody who came into our home or into my life, he was like, I will decide if you're worthy of my attention and love. And everybody loved him because he was just such a like smush face, cute, weird little animal and had such a personality and wasn't overbearing or anything. And so everyone would like be drawn to him and he'd be like, I'll decide that if I'm going to cuddle with you or not. And then once he chose you, he loved you. So even John, like they had a bit of a hard time finding their equilibrium because Dexter was like, who the F are you? And John's like, who the F are you?
That makes sense because he's like, this is my girl and I know your intentions. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
You have to prove it to me.
I was expecting you, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And like Dexter slept with me and John was like, he snores and he takes like, he was just such a bed hog. And then within like a couple months, I left when we went to Egypt one time, I left Dexter with John and they just like fell in love and would cuddle and yeah. So he, you know, they found their way with each other. But before he passed, we had my dad's dog and my dad passed away and so we took Winston and Winston is like too smart for his own good and is just like a little he's a high strung little guy but like also the sweetest and so like lovely and sweet but also too smart and we had the two of them. We had lost a dog, John's senior dog that he had when we got together. And Ava, like the opportunity, it was very same sort of thing, right? I had been out with some friends for like, I think a birthday celebration. And one of my close friends was like, oh my gosh, I'm here at my, like right near you. And I'm at my, my family member's house and they have puppies. Like we're dog sitting for the day. Come hang out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like don't have to twist my rubber arm. And so we went there. I went there and there was this little guy and he was the runt of the litter and was not like interested in hanging out with anybody, but he like curled up on my lap. And I was like, uh-oh, like, oh boy, I think we're getting a dog. And knowing that like that would be challenging given the circumstances we were in and having a third dog again. And so a bunch of time went by and I had to talk to John about it. And we was like, I don't know. And he said, I always wanted a girl dog. And I was like, well, there's no girls available. Like there was only two girl puppies in the litter. They're spoken for, like their deposits have been paid. So it's this guy or nothing. And I was like, you know, we need to go back again. And just like, obviously John needed to meet him and, you know, feel into it. And so we went and like, it had been probably 3 weeks or so. So they were, I think, about a month out from being ready to have homes or go to their new homes. And when we went to go see him, his name was Rodney. And there was something where I was just like, I don't know. He just had like a different vibe about him that I was like, I don't think this is going to go well with the other two. Like there's just too much doggy ego here. He's like a little big guy. And I think there's going to be issues. And so we're sitting there and all of a sudden this, like one of the little girls crawls up into John's lap and is all snuggled up with him. And he's like, oh, who is this? And she's like, oh, that was Demona. They named her Demona. Like terrible, terrible name. That's what we call her alter ego. And she's being a bad girl. Demona. But she crawled into his lap and he's like, can we have her? And I said, no, she's like spoken for. And the doggy mom said, oh no, actually the guy who had her pulled his deposit because he had some big expenses come up. And so she's available. And so like John's eyes lit up. And then the whole time we were sitting there, she would go to his lap. She would go to my lap. She would go to his lap. And she would just like switch back and forth between the two of us and cuddle up. And so all to say, we ended up taking her and it was such a like challenging time. But a year and a half later, Dexter passed away and we were left with two. And I said to John, like, there's no way we could have gotten a dog now with just Winston. He wouldn't have done well, knowing his temperament and his energy. He wouldn't have done well. And so Ava came in and she's come in, you know, we joke that they're like the anxiety version of our first dogs because they have really big energy and they're nervous dogs and they have a hard time with the big things in the world, but they are also the most sensitive beings. And so we were joking when, you know, you two came to visit, they were just like, oh my God, what is this energy? Ava would sit on the stairs and look over Ginette's head and just bark at her. And like, what are these things in my house? And then like Winston became obsessed with her. You were, Lisa, in her energy, and she started yelling at you like, get out of my head. Like they were just so discombobulated the whole
like
weekend.
talking to them all and they're like, hey,
get out.
Mind your own business. What the hell is going
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was so funny. They were bonkers. I have never seen them like that in my life. But all to say, they're very energetic beings. And long story long, I really feel like another thread of the animal connection and how they come into our lives is to, you know, John and I both had easy, chill dogs when we needed that. When like they were the grounding force for us. They were our sidekicks. They were our safe spaces. They held us through some of the most challenging parts of our life. And then as we shifted into a different phase of life and really were working on like the intensities and the anxieties and the traumas and the things that we're living in our bodies, we got dogs that do the same, that need the same love and support. And so they mimic what we need, but also how we're trying to show up in the world. And so it's hard because they're very high maintenance dogs. I love them to death, but like they can be a lot sometimes. And yet I look at like how I'm healing and it's like, it can be a lot sometimes. And my you know, I have a temperamental physiology and I've got these things going on and like, they're exactly the same. So they very much mirror what we need in the time that we need it. Sometimes that's hard though.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes you're like, can you just chill?
Winston, stop humping the blanket that is on Ginette. Please.
So funny. Oh my
all
goodness.
the way down the hall.
All the way down the hall. Yeah.
And then we're sitting watching a movie and he's just sitting on Jeanette's lap, just
staring at her for like
He was
hours.
He was in love with you, pretty sure.
He was so cute. I gotta say though, like I felt the love and it was sweet. It really was.
Love.
That's interesting. I want to share. I often talk about Maddie, but I want to share a little bit about my cat Kuma. So, I mean, I think everybody throughout my videos and various videos, Kuma comes in every once in a while, a little black cat jumps up. There's usually a tail. So she is 19. And so interesting enough is in the last like 3-4 days, I've been getting messages from her spirit that like, she's probably going to be leaving sooner than later. I don't know exactly when.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, only the last couple days. Yeah. It was like, okay, I know something. And I went up and checked her right away. I'm like,
That's so
everything
hard.
okay? And
When
she's
did you
fine.
get her?
Got her in, like 19 years ago. No, sorry, she's 18. She turns 19 this September.
So you've had her since she was a baby?
Yeah, we got her as a tiny little kitten.
For 20 years almost?
Yes. Yes.
I had no idea. I thought you rescued her when she was like 8.
No, we got her as a little kitten. And she I knew I wanted this black cat. And we found her in
of course.
The witchiest of witchy.
I know, right?
Gotta have a black cat. I know.
And we got her from a place like in Vancouver. And when we went to see her, this isn't the part of the story I want to share, but when we went to see her, we were like, which one is it going to be? And there was a couple of them, and she jumped in the crate and then just sat there and looked at us and was like, it's me, I'm ready. And we're like, okay. And that was her. So Kuma has been this she's really like a background character in our life. Like she's not a front and center in your face cat. She likes the energy. So when the energy is really good, she'll come in. Yeah. And she's always been this periphery, really easy pet, very easy pet. Now, what's really interesting is in the last couple years, she has really taken on this role of guardian of the energy, which I find really interesting. And so every night before bed, Bree, my daughter, has this bunk bed, this loft bed, and it's these little skinny metal stairs or ladder to get up to her bed. And Kuma climbs the ladder still every night, climbs up to walk around the bed a couple times to make sure Bree's good, and then jumps down on her dresser and goes away every night. And if we close the door before, Kuma's like, she'll freak out at the door, like spaz out. She's like, excuse me, open the door, runs over, climbs up. You hear this little clink, 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 clink. She's climbing up, checks it out, and then does her rounds, goes into Easton's room, and sometimes sleeps on Easton's bed because he's more like energy sensitive, and she can really like calm his energy. So I've really been noticing that like the last couple of years. But what I've really noticed, coming back to what we were talking about in the beginning with this density energy too, I've noticed that the last while, anytime we hit those real dense energy periods of like pesky energy and stuff, whenever I tune in to meditate, Kuma will find me and she will perch somewhere very close to where my head is. Like if I'm on the couch, she sits like guardian, kind of just like watching over. And then as soon as I'm done meditation and I kind of look at her, then she jumps off and saunters away and goes and has a nap. She always finds me to like sit as like a sentinel.
Really?
Yes. And she's just like such this energy guardian.
Yeah.
And she just
Big
like
time.
patrols the energy in our house. It's so interesting. And again, like this periphery thing, and like she'll be snuggly and stuff, but she likes to keep to herself. But she patrols, and she has been just this beautiful guardian. And so
I love that.
yeah, but I know her time here as guardian is coming to a close, and like I can understand. And she's been so healthy. She's been a healthy cat her whole life. But I know we're like stretching on in years, but just the last couple of days with her coming in and being like, just so you know, it's probably not going to be too
So
much
here's the
longer.
question. Do you talk to your kids about that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's like, do you give them the heads up, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. No, they know too. And like we've already talked about like how she's older the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, they know, and like they know it's a part of it and stuff like that. But yeah, so it'll be sad when she does decide to go, but at the same time, like I'll connect with her in spirit. And I mean, it doesn't take away the human mourning. It'll be sad to not have her there, but she's been just such a gift. This beautiful, sweet, quiet, gentle gift. Whereas Maddie's always like, hey, I'm coming, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? So anyways, that's my share.
I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, all to say is for everyone watching, like notice the pets that come into your life.
Yeah.
And just
Because
really
that's a
notice.
big part of the raise of consciousness is through
Yes.
animals.
Yes, totally. Because they come in with this like, they're unbound to the human density karmas.
Yes.
Right? In so many ways, they're unbound from it. And that's why they really can emit that idea of unconditional love, right? Like when your dog sees you come home every day, they are as excited as they were the day before.
Yeah.
Because they're so purely in the moment. And so, yeah, when the energies are dense, connecting to your pets or friends' pets or whatever, like take the moment to stop and pet them. Take the moment to just play with them for a little bit, because it'll shift your energy, because they just want to give that energy. And that's beyond cats and dogs too.
Oh
right?
yeah, like
There's
animal presence.
Animal presence for sure.
Yeah. And I want to say, if you're not an animal or a pet person for, a multitude of reasons, right? I'm always so fascinated by cats, but John will exit his earthly body if he lives with a cat. So, that's outside of the realm for us. But, if you find yourself in a circumstance where it's like pets are not accessible to you or not something you desire, you can connect into that energy in so many different ways, right? That's one of my favorite things on social media is animal videos. I saw the most incredible quickly video on TikTok the other day of a man who has schizophrenia, and he has very intense visual hallucinations and audible hallucinations. And he has a service dog that is trained to greet people. So it helps him differentiate between what is a hallucination and what is a real person. So he was having a hallucination talking to it, and he said to his dog, greet. And the dog looked and then would have gone to greet if there was a real person. But because it was a hallucination, he stopped, or the dog just like stared at him. And so he knew in that moment, okay, this is a hallucination. And then he spoke to when you start to disengage from it and the anxiety of it comes down, then you don't see them as much anymore. And so and I just was like, that is all the most incredible thing. I would have never thought of that. But there's so much amazing animal stuff out there, and they're so, oh, there's Maddie girl.
I know,
and they're just so divine. Even if they're not in your physical presence, you can connect with that energy.
Yeah.
And so
and notice animals that might come up that you might either see in, not like even like real whatever, but if you see in a symbolism, right? Or if they're in a meditation, you see it kind of in your mind's eye as like a symbolism, and then notice where it comes up. There's messages through animals because they carry such a high vibration. So just notice that, and like without putting anything to it, just start noticing it, and maybe put it down, look at maybe the spiritual meaning behind it or how it resonates in your existence, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
We're going on safari shortly, and John and I were reading some stuff about all the different animals, and he was like, do not try to make friends with them. He's like, are you afraid of it? I'm like, no, I'll just talk to them. And apparently hippos like kill more people than anything in South Africa. And he's like, aren't you afraid of the hippos? And I'm like, no, I just want to like meet them. And he's like, we're not meeting them. You're not doing. I'm like, okay. I'll be careful.
Like the song, I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
God.
You gotta be
so
friendly
funny.
and happy and cute.
Look how cute they are.
They don't swallow people whole.
It's not gonna eat me. It's fine.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. All right. Well,
Okay.
we really hope that helped to kind of lift your spirits, hold on to that high vibe as you continue moving through this beautiful ascension process, regardless of how it may seem. And please do like, share, and subscribe. And also feel free to put in some ideas if ever there's certain topics you want us to cover as well. Put that in the comments. And we will see you all next week.